Rozankowski. John, you want to take a second to tell us about yourself?
Sure.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's certainly a pleasure to be here again, as I attended your meeting 2 weeks ago. Today, we're going to talk about mass transit and also the reactivation of the Rockaway line. And let me begin by saying this. Many people take mass transit for granted, as an afterthought. They don't realize that a difficult commute means you come home and crash. An easy and quick commute means you have more time for education, for civic engagement, and also time to spend with your family. This said, let's go to some of the benefits of reviving the Rockaway line. First, it will end the economic isolation of southern Queens. Mass transit here is inadequate, but there is another problem. Our major subway lines, the J train for you and the A train further south, all head downtown to a declining job market. When these lines were built, downtown Manhattan was the center of economic activity. However, beginning in the 1990s, the area has become more and more residential, a trend accelerated by the 9/11 attacks. Businesses have moved to Midtown, and the future will go to the far west side of Manhattan. Today, if you want to get to Midtown Manhattan using the J train, the trip takes you a solid hour. If the Rockaway line is reactivated, that same trip will take 23 minutes. Big difference. Now, jobs are, of course, are not only found in Manhattan, they're found in Queens. Do you remember last January when Governor Cuomo announced the Genting Convention Center? And it was said, how will people get there? That's a problem, not only for a mega project like the Genting Convention Center, but also for small businesses. Back in the 1980s, in Boston, software companies decided to establish themselves on Route 128, taking advantage of a railroad station. These businesses were small, blended right into the community, into buildings that looked so residential that if you didn't know and passed by, you would think it's a residential community. But they had 10 employees here, 10 there, 15 there, 50 there, 30 there. It all added up. For Route 128 was the backbone of what was called the Massachusetts Miracle. Why not something similar here? After all, the Center for an Urban Future had a study in which they found that many small businesses would love to come to southern Queens, to the outer boroughs. They pay less rent, they get tax breaks, there's less congestion, but they don't do so because the area is so hard to access, and they fear that they would not attract the best employees. When I had the pleasure of attending your meeting 2 weeks ago, you talked about foreclosed homes. And many expressed the hope that, wait a minute, we hope some family will buy those homes and remove this blight from our community. And as you were talking about that, I was thinking about Route 128. Why not small businesses in education, in healthcare, in software products? These are not the type of businesses that involve heavy trucks rumbling through the neighborhood. These are businesses that blend right in. The only thing that's stopping them from coming here is poor mass transit. Reactivating the Rockaway line will launch a spree of economic growth in southern Queens. And what that means is property values around the railroad and around the small businesses will soar, benefiting everyone. Not everybody, of course, travels because of going to and from work. You travel because of sports activities, recreation, shopping, going to school, and here you have a big problem. Look at northern Queens. They have the number 7, the Queens Boulevard line, the Long Island Railroad. Look at all the activity there. But southern Queens is blocked off from the rest of its borough by what I call the Great Green Barrier. That's Forest Park and the adjoining cemeteries. The only artery to cross them is Woodhaven Boulevard. It forces people who want to do shopping to take their cars on Woodhaven Boulevard. Reactivating the Rockaway line would facilitate mobility within Queens itself. The Rockaway line would feature a Rego Park station. This one is only 5 minutes away, 5 minutes from all the malls at Rego Park. In addition, it's 5 minutes away from the Queens Boulevard line, the M and R train. Now, when you revive the Rockaway line, you have to think about the big picture. You have the reactivation of the rail line itself, but at Rego Park, you can establish limited stop bus services to go to Citi Field, to go to LaGuardia Airport, to go to Queens College, and I know Andrea's concerned about that because the MTA robbed them of the Q74, and the Main Street Business District in Flushing. Reactivating the line with those bus lines would facilitate dramatically your movement within your own borough. And that, of course, goes without saying, it will reduce traffic along Woodhaven Boulevard. Some have proposed select bus services. That's a mixed blessing because lanes would be taken out of traffic. But they pale in comparison to a railway or a subway line. And there are some skeptics, of course, who will say, wait a minute, it's always said that if you get mass transit, the traffic will go down. In my borough, which is the Bronx, when they built the new Yankee Stadium, they put up garages there in anticipation of heavy traffic. Then someone had the idea of putting a Metro-North station next to the new Yankee Stadium. That Metro-North station is so heavily used that some of these garages will have to be torn down. And notice, people are using Metro-North not by force, but by their own free will. Now, these are just some of the benefits of reactivating the Rockaway line, but we have a minor obstacle here. That's the Greenway. Why don't we take it and place these two projects together side by side and ask the following question. Which one would benefit more people? I don't think I would have to elaborate. Obviously, the railway. Which one would benefit people 24 hours a day, 365 days a year? The railway again. After all, the Greenway will be dormant during a typical New York winter. It's said that when snow falls in Manhattan, Mayor Bloomberg has the sanitation department catch the flakes before they fall on the ground. Meanwhile, here in the outer boroughs, Bronx for me, Queens for you, you wait and wait for your streets to be cleared. Who will clear the Greenway? The Parks Department? Heaven forbid. But I have the answer. It's Mother Nature with the spring thaw. That would be dormant for the entire winter. Now this Greenway has been compared to the High Line. The High Line, it's not. First, the High Line is high. It's elevated throughout its length. Rockaway Line is only elevated from Aqueduct to Atlantic Avenue. And then, location, location. The High Line offers vistas of the hustle and bustle of Manhattan, the Hudson River, ships, boats, the Palisades, the piers. And it's located right where tourists stay. So you need a short subway trip or even a walk to get there. Now, how will the tourists get to the Greenway? Using the J train or the A train? Don't you believe it? Thus, and one feature of the Greenway is the bicycle paths. If you reactivate the Rockaway line, and if there is demand for it in the community, you can easily add the bicycle lanes adjoining to the railway. So thus, to sum up, in these times of tight budgets, what's more important? To help people make ends meet? To help people get around? To help students get to their classes on time? Or arts and culture? I feel it's getting people around. So how are we going to reactivate this Rockaway line? What can we do? First, we can do nothing. This was the case with the air train. $2 billion of public money was spent on a project that not only doesn't benefit the resident community, but was built in such a way not to benefit the resident community. This was an insult to the people of Queens, and only you can make sure that it doesn't happen again. You, those who favor the Rockaway line, and I invite Andrea and the Greenway people to join us, should organize a campaign to tell the political world we have had enough of mediocre transit and we want to revive the Rockaway line. Ladies and gentlemen, with all this said, I ask the Woodhaven Block Association to endorse the reactivation of the Rockaway line, to join this popular campaign to make Queens a better place to live, to give it economic growth, and to make lives better for each and every one of you. Thank you very much.